TV.
Let me tell you what happened to me. My family and I were hurt in a car wreck. That's when I decided to call George Sink Injury Lawyers.
My law firm will come to you and get started right away. Just call all nines.
Helping injured people is what they do. It's all they do. Call all nines.
Thanks for watching News 12 on your side.
From the station that's on your side, this is News 12, first at 5.
Shell casings still litter the ground 2 days after a deadly mass shooting in Augusta. 2 people were killed, 4 are hurt, 12 suspects charged with murder.
The people you see here behind us are those suspects. All but one of them are from out of state. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office says this was a targeted attack where the suspects drove from Florida and other areas to a motorcycle club on Sandbar Ferry Road with the intention of violence. This all happening at a cookout being held at the Outcast Motorcycle Club headquarters off of East Boundary Street. Now, an army of deputies arrived after getting reports of shots fired with multiple people down. Sheriff Roundtree described the scene over the weekend, noting the amount of carnage. Now, he told us there were more than 150 shell casings scattered across several streets. All of this happened because of a previous incident involving these two groups from Florida. Now, the sheriff's office says this was a targeted attack.
Bring this type of violence to our city, to add us to a national mass shooting list, is unconscionable. You're talking about traveling 3-4 hours to come to Augusta armed to engage in gun violence.
And right now, he says that this is still an ongoing investigation. They're still on high alert about another possible retaliation plan.
There is another complication here, too. We're learning an EMS vehicle drove over the body of one of the men who was shot and killed. According to the incident report, the driver misjudged where that body was laying. The report also says the man was confirmed dead before he was run over. We're working to learn whether that driver has been put on leave.
Well, it has been a beautiful start to that. Full forecast in just about 10 minutes.
Thanks, Riley. A North Augusta man accused of attempted murder. This after a shooting last week on Trickling Creek Drive in Aiken County. Authorities say they found a victim early Tuesday morning face down on the side of the road with a gunshot wound. The victim told deputies that he and a friend were in a heated argument and went on a walk to cool off. The victim says a car then pulled up and 38-year-old Daryl Satterwhite got out of the car and shot the victim. Satterwhite was arrested Thursday. No word yet on whether he knew that victim.
The parents of a child found alone in Orangeburg County are not facing charges, at least not for now. Deputies say they found the 3-year-old boy alone in the Roosevelt Gardens apartment complex around 10 last Sunday morning. They shared this photo asking for help identifying him and his family. They did find his parents a few hours later, but the sheriff says deputies are still investigating what happened and how he ended up there all by himself.
DHEC's days are very likely numbered. A bill to dissolve the state's Department of Health and Environmental Control now awaits Governor Henry McMaster's signature.
And as our State House reporter Mary Green explains, if this becomes law, DHEC would be gone by July 1st of next year.
When you're doing something this comprehensive with this many moving parts, it's very important that you get it right.
The bill would dissolve DHEC and create 2 new cabinet-level agencies, the Department of Public Health and the Department of Environmental Services. The governor would appoint the leaders of both these agencies with senator's approval. Public Health would take over DHEC's health responsibilities. DHEC's environmental control function would become the Department of Environmental Services, which would take over the Department of Natural Resources' current Water Resources Division as well. The bill would also shift responsibility over South Carolina's veterans nursing homes from the Department of Mental Health to the Department of Veterans Affairs. And the Department of Agriculture would take over food safety programs, which DHEC currently oversees.
Good, effective delivery of public health services isn't a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not a conservative or a liberal issue. I mean, everybody wants to deliver public health services to South Carolinians in the most efficient way possible at the lowest cost.
This bill also instructs the state's Department of Administration to hire consultants to study all state agencies involved in public health. Now, that includes the Departments of Mental Health and Alcohol and other drug abuse services. Happening now, the AU Jaguars are on their way to making history. The team is preparing to head to Scottsdale, Arizona after finishing in the top 5 in Athens in the NCAA Regionals.
It's pretty cool stuff. Teams, coaches, staff, and supporters are readying to send off the team from the Surrey Center. Live at 5, that's where we find News 12's Alyssa Lyons. Alyssa, how are we feeling out there?
Hey, I know you two both love a party, so do I, and it's just getting started. Folks are just walking through the door, just getting ready to send this team off to their first ever national championship. Now, they finished 5th in the Athens Regional to get them there, 4 shots behind 4th place finisher Ole Miss, 2 strokes ahead of Ohio State, and that's all because of Mirabelle Ting, and she's only a freshman, if you can believe that. Did you think that when you walked in the doors of Augusta University that you'd be here just days away from Scottsdale, Arizona?
No, not at all. It was a heck of a ride, and teammates made it interesting. All of us really hard work. We work really hard, and we play a lot, and we trust each other. We had faith and confidence and determination to play well. Yeah.
You know, 2 strokes is not a lot. I mean, it's you going back and forth, and so to just beat Ohio State by that much, you know, what was going through your head in those final moments?
I didn't know the scores until I finished 18 holes. I didn't know anything until all of my teammates shouted on the 18 hole, the final hole. I only know that in my head I was like going through, I think I'm going to national. So yeah, it was a fun ride on the last day. It was fun, it was challenging, and my head is just shot by shot, just try to play well and just have fun.
The surprise of the century.
Yeah, it was. It's really exciting to see Augusta University, the women's golf, like it's our first ever to make it to nationals, and I'm glad as a freshman to be doing good stuff, and the team's doing great. This semester was awesome.
Now, if you would have asked them this past fall, even being here was just a crazy thing. We'll talk to head coach Caroline Bright at 6 o'clock. We'll send it back to you guys until then.
And being laser focused is definitely a key part to this whole thing. She didn't even know where she was in the standings.
I love that.
Such an important part of golf, too.
I love seeing people give high fives and hugs in the background, too. Lots of fun, lots of celebrating tonight before the real work starts.
Congratulations to them, though, so far.
4 months later, a Georgia mother continues to defy the odds after she was shot in the face. We'll hear more about her recovery coming up. Riley?
Well, temperatures this afternoon staying in the low and mid-80s, getting a little bit hotter tomorrow, and we're bringing back the chance for storms. We'll have that full forecast just after the break. Thursday and Friday, high temperatures Thursday, mid-70s will likely continue to track a good chance for rain, and then drying out with cooler temps between Friday and Saturday.
Thanks, Riley. A Georgia woman says she's lucky to be alive after she was shot in the head during a road rage incident. Just inches away, her husband and children. And 4 months later, she says the ordeal has given her a new outlook on life.
Wow, I can't imagine. Aaron Arinder takes us along on this mother's journey.
Be at home with them, watch a movie, have a meal, listen to them play and laugh. I'll never take that for granted again.
Heather Stavanis is counting her blessings.
I'm just grateful to have both kids still here with me because it could have been so much worse.
In January, Heather was shot in the head while driving home on I-85 to Toccoa, Georgia. Her husband, Brandon, and their 2 young children, Gunnar, 6, and Millie, just 3, were inches away from flying bullets.
We all could have really had a different outcome.
Life without her would be, I don't know.
Today, Heather is still on a recovery journey.
Still hanging around with the cane. I can go without it around the house, but outside we're still kind of chugging along with it, and for like long distances I use the wheelchair.
At the park, the couple makes sure to spend time with their little ones.
Your favorite thing to play, baby? On the swings and on the spiders and on the slugs and the climber wall. I realize just the day-to-day things with the kids, and honestly being able to be at home with them, because I spent 61 days in the hospital.
In the past, I stayed busy working. Now I've had to slow down and change the way things go. You know, you ask her about taking stuff for granted. You know, took for granted her taking kids to school. Now I got to do it, and it just, you know, people don't realize that single parenting's a lot harder than what it is. And even though she's home, you know, she said 61 days. You know, I was pretty much a single parent. Took all that for granted.
Heather and Brandon say they're working on moving forward from this incident as a family and hope that one day justice can be served in this case.
Emergency room bills, they can be higher than you might expect. Coming up, what experts say you should know about costly care.
First certified and recognized by the International Code Council. Don't do it twice. Do it right. Rely on Ramjack.
In an emergency, you go to the ER, but sometimes those visits come with unexpected bills.
Consumer investigator Carice Jackman partnered with Kaiser Health News to examine the challenges that come with costly care.
It's an ER visit, Lee Fava says, left her with a large bill.
It was just outrageous. $700 for a shot?
Unanswered questions.
So there were all sorts of things on that bill I wanted to dispute, but I couldn't even get a person to respond to me.
And a poorly wrapped bandage. Fava went to the ER in November 2021 after injuring her thumb while on her front deck.
Obviously, when you have an injury like that, the first thing you need is a tetanus shot. And so, among other things that were done as far as ointments and things like that, they did give me a tetanus shot. But they ultimately charged me almost $700 for it.
She says there were a few items on her bill that just didn't add up, even though she works in the medical field.
I wanted to dispute the tetanus shot because I thought it was outrageous. I wanted to dispute the level 4 emergency room fee because this was not a level 4 injury. This was a level 1. This was basic. And I also wanted to dispute the medication that I was charged for that I did not actually get.
In emergency rooms, patients are coded at certain levels depending on the severity of injuries and the diagnostic tests done. The higher the level, usually the higher the cost. Despite sending letters and calling the hospital, Fava says she was ignored. She reluctantly paid her remaining balance, around $785, to avoid it impacting her credit, but wants a refund and answers from hospital administrators.
Lee, how would you describe this entire ordeal in one word? Disappointing. Very disappointing. I am not in a financial hardship because of this, but I know for a fact that there are people out there who are getting billed like this on a regular basis.
Surprises on medical billing is an issue medical billing experts say patients have battled for years. The Department of Health and Human Services says more than half of consumers in the U.S. report having received an unexpected large bill. We discussed Fava's situation with Dr. Elizabeth Rosenthal, editor-in-chief of Kaiser Health News.
If you know all they did was put a Band-Aid on a cut and maybe wash it out a little bit, a level 4 emergency room visit, there are parameters for that. You have to be seen for a certain length of time. There has to be an intense level of care. You know that didn't happen, so you can say, this wasn't level 4, this was more like a level 2.
Sometimes you have no choice but to go to the ER, but Dr. Rosenthal says if you can, look at alternative ways of getting treatment.
Every little thing that's done to you in an emergency room, whether it's a CAT scan or putting on a Band-Aid, is probably going to be upcharged by a factor of 10.
We reached out to the hospital ourselves to see if they could address Fava's situation. In a statement, the hospital said a thorough investigation of the billing charges has been reviewed and found all identified charges are appropriate. They went on to say they identified one item where Fava was undercharged, but they will not be pursuing additional reimbursement from Fava or her insurance carrier.
I think we need some sort of reform where things are charged as what their actual cost is, or at least somewhere near what their cost is.
For Investigate TV, I'm Carice Jackman.
Fava works for a firm where the same hospital is a client. After speaking to our team, she says the hospital system sent an email to her bosses asking them to take her off all of their cases. She's now seeking legal advice. Riley?
Well, temperatures are going to stay pretty warm over the next couple of mornings, only dropping down to the 60s. But towards the end of the week, we'll start to get those mornings back down to the 50s. Now look at that 7-day forecast just after the break.
Since 19